years, and Tennessee is the state that made it happen. Hi, my name is Melanie King. I am a 4th grade student at Centerville Intermediate School. What got me interested in the story of women's suffrage was my 4th grade class read a novel called The Hope Chest. This book interested me so much that I asked for more women's suffrage books for Christmas. I also thought it was ironic that we read women's suffrage books as we headed into 2020 and women got suffrage in 1920. That is exactly 100 years. So if you think about it, women have only had suffrage for 100 years and men have had suffrage since the beginning of our country. Some well-known brave fighters for women's suffrage were Susan B. Anthony, Carrie Chapman Catt, Alice Paul, and Elizabeth Cady Stanton. I think it is very sad that Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony did not live to see that the fight had come to an end, a relief and an exciting end, the passing of the 19th Amendment. I think Susan B. Anthony is so amazing because of her story. Do any of you know it? If you don't, it's okay. I'm going to tell you it. Susan B. Anthony and 13 other women went and voted, and the men by the ballot box didn't stop them. Susan B. Anthony was tried a year later in court. The trial was very unfair. First, the judge announced her guilty without referring the case to the jury. Secondly, because she didn't get to defend herself. So, even though she knew she was going to jail, she still did what she thought was right. So in my opinion, Susan B. Anthony should have gone to jail for breaking the law, but the law she broke was cruel and sexist. Alice Paul was also a noble person because she fought for all women. Though she was too rough around the edges, she wasn't racist like some of the other suffragists because she fought for all women. Something that was shocking to my class and me was that some of the women's suffrage fighters were racist. That meant that they were fighting for women nonetheless, but they were only fighting for white women, not black women too. A black woman character in the Hope Test said, "These women don't like us because of the color of our skin. They aren't fighting for all women. They're just fighting for white women." That spoke to me because though she was black, she said what she thought and she wasn't afraid to say it. I learned in order for an amendment to be passed, 36 states had to pass the amendment. In 1920, 35 states had passed the 19th Amendment so far, and Tennessee was the last one to make the vote. Anti-suffragists and suffragists were doing everything they could to sway the legislators to their side. Anti-suffragists were even bribing the Tennessee legislators with gold and illegal liquor. That made it harder for the suffragists because men that would make an impact on the vote were changing sides. When the day came to make the vote, Harry T. Byrne had gotten a letter from his mother, who was a suffragist. The letter was trying to get him to change sides to be a suffragist, not an anti. Another very important anti-suffragist got an important phone call that may or may not have changed his mind. When the time came to make the vote, anti-suffragists and suffragists were all in a room waiting for the results to come out of the vote. And the suffragists won the vote. Now Tennessee is known as the Perfect 36. That's a pretty big deal. Did you know that after Harry T. Byrne had voted for women's suffrage, he was held hostage? In conclusion, all turned out the way we wanted. I was looking at quotes by Sojourner Truth, and I found one that stated, "If the first woman God ever made was able to turn this world upside down, then these women together ought to be able to turn it right side up again." I felt that was a great way to end my speech because though these women may have gotten bad reputations and were talked very badly about, they still fought for what was right.